Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bourbon Bites, whiskey reviews with a gaming twist. I'm Clifton, and today we have some very, very special guests joining us here soon from Catoctin Creek Distillery out of Virginia. So, first of all, I want to give some shout outs to our mods who are here tonight. We got Donnie, the Linux Cat, we got Brandon, and our newest mod, I don't think she's here yet, and I don't think I've officially made her a mod yet, but moving forward, Emily Chambers is going to be our brand new mod. So give a shout out to Emily if she's here. So happy to have her join the team. She's always here during the stream, so thought it'd be really great to have her as a mod. So I want to give a couple of patron shout outs. We have a few new patrons since our last stream. We got John H. We got Tim Evans. I also want to give a special shout out to Scary Peeper, who y'all know. Well, his name is Morgan, but y'all know him as Scary Peeper. He actually sent me a blind flight that I will be doing very soon here on the channel. So stay tuned for that. I'll let y'all know when that one's coming up. I do want to say before we get going, just a reminder that I do have a TikTok now. Yes, you heard me right. That this old man has a TikTok. But if you're interested in following me over at TikTok, it is just Bourbon Bites, as you see right here. There's my little code. I don't know what it's called because I'm old and I'm basically okay boomer. Anyways, with that all being said, we are having our after party tonight, right after the stream, for everyone on Patreon. That is $10 and up. Bourbon Megabytes, a few of them here in the chat representing. Also see a few other channels here, the Mash and Drum, who I am wearing his merch here. Yeah, go check out his channel. But anyways, without further ado, let's welcome our incredible guests tonight. Welcome, John and Avalon from Catoctin Creek.
Woo!
Hello.
Hi there, everybody. How y'all doing?
I'm so excited to have y'all on. We met at the Repeal Day Expo, the virtual reality Repeal Day Expo put on by Fred Minnick. And ever since meeting you guys, I'm so glad that you guys agreed to come on the show. First of all, thank y'all for being here. But also, like, y'all just have such a great chemistry. Now, first question, I guess, for you guys is, like, how did you guys start working together? Like, how did you guys get involved with Catoctin Creek?
Well, John was the first one, so he's the old man with Catoctin, so he'll take the lead on that.
I'll try to keep it short, but I started on this side of the business with Catoctin Creek 7 years ago, but I met them in 2010. They had been open for less than a year by that point as a bartender. It was a bottling workshop that was free. I didn't know that, but it was a birthday present that my wife set up for me, where I got to go and bottle whiskey with these people, and I was so enthralled by the mysticism of it as a bartender. It's just like stuff you see on TV. And I was like, man, we got to get you into our bar. This became a thing. I got wind that this bar was going down. I reached out to them and I said, can I work for you? And they say, no, we can't afford people. And so then I start freelancing. They made me sign a form. They gave me bottles. I didn't know what to do with them as a salesperson. I was a bartender.
Right.
And so I basically, got like 3 free bottles and was doing whatever. But then I started doing distribution for a wine company. I was an associate brand ambassador for William Grant & Sons. That's Glenfiddich, that's Balvenie, that's Tullamore Dew, that's Hudson, that's Hendrick's Gin for those guys out there that like Gin Sailor Jerry's. There was a Milagro Tequila. I was doing all that stuff in DC as an associate brand ambassador while working the wine Monday through Friday at this wine distribution company in Alexandria, Virginia. And then in 2014, the Catoctin Creek transferred itself from this little warehouse district right down the street from us to the current brick and mortar that it is now. And they opened up a tasting room. So I spent weekends doing the tasting room and tours for the company, basically Saturday a.m. until Sunday p.m. And I lived there, basically. Slept over at my sister's house in Ashburn. Didn't see my wife every weekend for almost a year. Had a child. That started to span out to a little bit of time at the tasting room until they were like, listen, we need more John Shope in our lives. We're going to build a position for you. You're going to be our ambassador for the state of Virginia and North Carolina. And boom, 7 years down the road, here I am talking to you fine people.
That's awesome. Well, so you've had quite the journey. Well, what about you, Avalon?
So there's a lot of like mutual things, like with John, just like it all just kind of organically happened. So I started out over at Vintage 50 in Leesburg, which is not too far from Percival, where we're located. And I was working with Lauren Barrett, who used to be our GM at Catoctin, who now owns Buford's Biscuits in Leesburg, which is an amazing biscuit place. Fried chicken, Nashville hot.
I miss it.
You are missing out. Like, so she and I worked together for about 2 years, and I had started out as a wine rep after realizing that being a alcohol rep was a thing at Vintage 50. The first spirit that I got introduced to that kind of like did the, like I was talking about it today with an account was Bison Grass Vodka. A rep came in and we did a staff education, and I was like, this actually isn't bad. And they were telling me the whole history about it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is your job? You get to sell boot? Where are you showing your bandanas, John? I'm talking about my life.
Are you referencing Cohen's comment that just came up?
Someone's being cute over here online. I'm sorry. You know how the internet goes, man. There's a lot of trolls out there.
No, so Cohen is he's in my area. I've actually never met him, but our local whiskey group that used to meet up when we could do that. His big thing is he always wears headbands. So Cohen's just kidding. He's a cool guy.
Oh man, I love it. Sorry.
No, John just likes talking over me. It's his favorite thing. So, so I was working at Vintage 50, and he's out. Realized I was like, wait a minute. I was like, you guys can do this for a living? You don't just like go to the ABC store and just like Google stuff and just figure out what you want. That's a job. And I was like, crazy.
Yeah.
All right, I want to do that. Literally like 6 months after me bartending, I get approached by a wine distributor, start working for them at 21 while bartending, and then go from wine distributor to tobacco. I sold tobacco or cigars essentially and other tobacco products with B&B Tobacco, which is actually based right out of Ashburn, Virginia. And then went to a Southern Wine and Spirits, and then to a beer distributor. And then after that, had my own little side company. And during that time with my side company, I was like, I'm not making, like, I didn't tell anybody. I was just like, in my mind, I was like, I'm not making any money while bartending and doing this. I need to find something more substantial, but I'm not going back to distribution. No offense to people who work in distribution, just wasn't for me. Just too much bureaucracy, just a lot going on. I was like, supplier is the only way to go. So Lauren Barrett, who I had worked with, now GM of Catoctin, reached out to me as if Big Brother was listening to my brain and was like, hey, so, you know, anybody who might be interested in working this position? And I was like, yes, yes,
no,
yes. And so I ended up jumping on a call with Scott for like 30 minutes. Came in a week later to the distillery, talked about it. When I was working with Southern, they briefly had Catoctin, and I sold the crap out of it. Loved it. I have there's a huge cult following when it comes to Catoctin. My best friend, who is now the regional manager of Southern, her and her other friends who work for the company, like, they buy this on the DL and stock their bar with Catoctin, even though Southern doesn't carry it anymore, and they have plenty of whiskey to drink. They buy this on their own. So it's truly an amazing company to work for. I've been with them for 2 years, and it's been nothing but short of amazing.
Yeah, well, our friend Golf Whiskey here is a regular view on the show here. He says Catoctin Creek is his local distillery here. And is it Loudoun County? Probably.
Yep.
Okay, Loudoun County. So yeah, you got some locals there too. I think when I met up with him in Kentucky like a couple of years ago, he brought some swag from you guys. So
that's amazing.
Really cool. We did have a super chat come in. Let me catch up with the chat here. You guys are chatty today. Not you guys, the chat, not them. so Eric Wade says, sorry I missed your New Year's Eve gig. I fell asleep. Eric, totally fine. Totally understand. I'd love to have you on the channel here sometime. Eric has his own channel on YouTube as well. Thank you so much for the super chat. That's the first super chat here tonight. So if anyone else feels generous to give a super chat, you're always welcome to. We really appreciate it here. So well, that's awesome. You guys sound like you. I mean, so we'll talk a bit more about how you guys ended up meeting. But one question I do want to start asking guests is, have you been playing any video games lately? Have you had any favorites that you've played lately? So I know you guys seem to be gamers. You showed me some of your swag before. There we go. So
I don't have any swag. I just have games that I've enjoyed in the past.
Yeah. Well, since John has some swag, let's let him go first. What do you got? He's got all the swag.
Yeah,
so you got a PlayStation
Classic. So yeah, listen, man. I mean, the thing is that I've been a gamer since I was a kid, right? And now that I got a 6-year-old and a career, there's really not a lot of time to do anything like longevity wise. So I'm really big on my handhelds.
Yes, we love our Switch.
And I just got my hands on a RG350 in.
Yeah, tell us about that. 'Cause that seems really. I don't have a portable emulator like that. Let us know how is it.
Gosh. This thing plays sensationally well, and it takes a little bit of like data entry stuff, which for me, out of my realm, it took a little bit of Google to get myself in. But I have basically collected so many of my old games into this online format, and I put them into the system. So I have all of my old DOS games. I have Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation, Neo Geo. I have MAME arcade stuff. I got a bunch of stuff. PlayStation 1 is how far it goes. You can start trying to do emulation for other systems, but
there's certain limits usually, but that's a lot, all the way up to PS1 from like MAME, like arcade. That's crazy.
Slick too, by the way. Like, I mean, I can play like anything from like Resident Evil, Final Fantasy. It's all playing real smooth. Crash Bandicoot, I was doing the other day. But my daughter, who's all but 6 years old, this is her favorite video game right now. PlayStation 4 Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus. I personally haven't played that. I watched my husband's a bigger gamer than I am actually, so he's played that game. He had it on PS3. He has it on PS4 now. He loves that game.
Game changing. It's the thing that's really great about it. CC Anna being a 6-year-old, I can't really like get into a lot of the stuff that's out there, right? And so the thing that's great about Team Ico and their games is it's the simplicity of it. There's not a lot of dialogue. It's not ultra violent. Any violence is done in light or shadow, and there's just this really great artistic thing. And it's just a beautiful game. She loves this thing. She loves Shadow of the Colossus. She was just doing a Zoom school thing this morning, and the teacher was like, "What's your favorite toy?" And she was like, "No, let me tell you about my favorite video game." "Oh, what's your favorite video game?" You're like,
"Come on, teacher, give it the times. Everyone plays games now."
Wait, does Anna play it with you, John, or does she watch it?
No, she's not playing it. She's watching it, but she's also.
That's my girl. That's my girl. So I grew up with a bunch of nerds back in high school. I was a theater kid, and so like I got you, boo. So I never like they would have LAN parties and like all that, and like I'd basically be Kitty from that '70s show. I'm like, you guys want me to make you food as I drink wine? You guys play your video games and smoke weed? Cool. So that's what I would do, and I would just sit there and just like eat food and drink and watch them play video games. And the storylines of video games, I've always been very intrigued by. The anxiety I get with playing video games. No, like Pac-Man even gets me like a little that
comes when you're playing online. Like I usually avoid a lot of online games because I admit I suck compared to most of the general population of gamers. So I stick to the single player campaigns myself.
I mean, even then, like depending on like, if things jump out at you, I'm just like, nope. It's like I can't do it.
So what kind of games do you like then? You play a bit of games, you said, right?
So the past couple of ones that I actually truly enjoyed, if anybody, especially during COVID, suffers from any anxiety or just like they don't know how to play.
Who doesn't? Like it's anxious times. Like I mean, I never really realized that I struggled with it until this happened, and I'm like, holy crap, I think I have anxiety. Like it never really hit home until like being worried about the future. So I totally get you there.
Anxiety is a spectrum. Like I myself, I would not like designate myself as like being like an anxious person, but everybody has spouts of anxiety, and then you go to actually having anxiety. But the two games that I really truly enjoyed over the past couple of years, Journey and Flowers. So Journey is beautiful. It is you're in the Sahara Desert, right? But it's the ocean version of a desert. So you just like flip it, and there's these beautiful creatures that are just like floating around in like the sand, and you're just you interact with people, and they're just like in their little like little just like outfits, just hanging around, talking. You can interact, and it's very calming. There's great music, and Flowers is literally just like a field of flowers, and you just cultivate the land of flowers.
I've played Flowers.
It's amazing.
It's such a simple concept, but it is. It's really, and it's beautiful music. It's beautiful visuals. Real simple.
Years ago, I went to Richmond, and I went to the gaming conference that they had. You remember when conferences happened? Remember that time? Remember when you could like have a bunch of people in a building all at once? I do. I feel like an old person. We're like, oh, back in my day, we could like go hang out in a
whiskey together with friends. What?
but like we got to play like all the Mario Brother games,
man, that's my jam.
everything across the board. And I remember Journey and Flowers were there, and I was sitting there, I was like, get the hell out of here, little kid. Like, I'm gonna play this. You don't even know how relaxing this is. You just think it's pretty.
Right.
Go play something pretty.
Yeah, I've never played Flowers, but Journey was really, really an awesome experience. There's another game called, I think it's called Abzu, I think it's pronounced. It's a very similar game. It's still like that, very chill, but very like just you get immersed into the world of it, and it's those types of games are so cool.
They're relaxing. You're just like, you could play them as you fall asleep and be like, it's okay, nobody's gonna care. It's
That's awesome. Someone said I was in the shower. Who's Johnny? So if you missed it, yeah. Well, okay, so that's a good transition. Well, first of all, let's get something in our glass first before we move into that.
Guys,
But what are we drinking first?
For everybody who has their bottles available to them, and I see your questions about availability. Give me a second here, guys.
Yeah, I probably get that too. So
we have Catoctin Creek Roundstone Rye. This is an 80 proof, 100% unmalted rye, single barrel, non-chilled, filtered. It is all about history here. So Virginia is the birthplace of whiskey in this country. And back in the day, George Washington, after he retired, he had the largest operating still right about all but 30 minutes away from us in Mount Vernon. And he was using grain that was available to him, which was rye. It was rye grain coming from Virginia. It was coming from Maryland. It was coming from Pennsylvania. They were using local Virginia limestone-rich Blue Ridge mountain water, which is what we're using coming right to the distillery ourselves. It's organic. It's actually been registered and tested to be gluten-free as well. And we're ticking all the boxes. We're solar powered, 128 solar panels on the rooftop.
That's awesome.
On a sunny day, Clifton, we generate enough electricity to actually sell back to Dominion, which is our electric company in Virginia, which actually will power about 6 houses in the Loudoun County area. This is on a day-to-day basis. But
John, can you see it?
Okay,
Oh God, I got that. I'm backwards on here, so like my hair is actually on this side.
I can also like make.
There it is.
Yeah, that's RK, baby. That kosher, that certified kosher.
Yeah,
Nice.
see that?
Yes, I see it.
So fun fact, not passive or kosher. I learned that one the hard way in the field because I was like, oh yeah, my half sister is Jewish. I was like, I know what kosher is, and I was like, no, I don't, because Passover you can't consume grain.
I just know the basics, so I'm right there with you.
It has to do with cleanliness. It's the same test and code and score that Sam Adams uses. It's a very popular test to certify cleanliness, which helps us further solidify our organic attributes, right? We're a biodynamic, waste-free site. Everything gets reused for something. But what you have here, 100% rye, and it's not just one single rye grain. It's we have 4 major farms that we're working with. 2 of them are in Pennsylvania, 2 in Virginia, and we also work with little farms that are as close to us as all but 15 minutes down the street. We've worked with Morgan Park, where we've used their 1,000 acres of some red rye. We do some Rappahannock, we do some Amish, we do some white rye, and then there's all of these other specific grains that, if you want to really break it down, that's a great conversation to have with Becky, who literally goes out to these fields and checks these rye grains as they come in, and will blend them to create this one unique 100% rye product. And by being unmalted, we're giving you a completely different flavor profile.
Oh, absolutely.
What rye
that's one of the things that stood out to me. So my first time trying Catoctin Creek was actually at a whiskey event, which again, remember when we had those? There was a bunch of the familiar distilleries there, but there was one that I hadn't heard of, and it was you guys. And I tried it, and I was so used to the typical rye flavor, like you said, with the malted rye, that I was kind of like in shock. I was like, wait, what? This is rye whiskey? Like, it's
super spicy. Why isn't this really herbal? Where's that chili?
Right.
To speak on the last video, the one that you did with George Remus, with him having a high rye bourbon,
right,
was the fact that it started out sweet, and then you got that like the rye spice, and the fact that we're 100% rye, you kind of still get that same kind of flavor profile. It starts out sweet, kind of like, because we kind of we refer to it as the bourbon drinker's rye, so it has that sweetness, but it ends with that like nice dryness without it being too spicy. And with a lot of ryes that I've encountered in the past, tend to be very astringent, very thin. and they kind of like kick you back here with like that black pepper. And ours tend to be a little bit more like that cinnamon spice, that baking spice. And because we don't chill filter, if whoever's listening isn't familiar with chill filtering, it's an old school practice that originated way back when, and it's mainly for cosmetic reasons.
Sure.
It's very silly. So, friends, so our 80 proof, if this was to get cold, it'd get really cloudy, and that cloudiness essentially is the natural fats and oils separating from the alcohol. And what did I just say? Fats, oil, that means flavor. You want to keep that in with the whiskey to help round it out, have a nice mouthfeel, that nice creaminess, that smoothness. And so that's why you don't get that very aggressive, kick when you're drinking it. And people are like, oh, this is a rye. And John, how many times have we had people be like, oh, bourbon? Like, no, it's rye. There you go, the bourbon rye. I'm like, no, it's rye.
Bourbon rye.
We'll talk rye, 100% rye, 100% a malted rye, Virginia rye until the ears fall off. This is the Virginia rye whiskey. That is our trademark, and people will walk up to the table and be like, "You gotta try this."
John, what are we? Are we the what?
The Virginia rye whiskey, baby.
Oh, yeah, y'all got that trademark too. That's trademarked.
Yep, that's the facts right there. Yeah. There's a couple of questions that I was noticing. People are asking if we're adding yeast to our beer. 100%. Yeah, we need a distiller's yeast to basically eat the sugars that are in our rye mash bill to convert that into alcohol, right? And that becomes beer. And I mean, now
the only thing we don't add is malt, and we add because our
flavorings that you would see
we'll
in
get
the beer,
into
right?
our distiller in a second on why we do what we do to actually break down things, why we don't malt them.
Sure. Adriana, no, you don't have to shake it. It's not going to separate the way like I don't know, an eggnog or something would, like a vinaigrette. She was asking before you open the bottle, do you need to shake this?
Oh, no. Okay, the only reason we need to shake it is if it gets really cold and then it sits down and becomes room temperature, because then you would have like the little like snowflake looking stuff at the bottom. And so I've had that issue in the past to where like I've had an account ask me, they're like, something's wrong with this whiskey. And I didn't even think about it because I didn't even think about like chill filtering. I just, brain fart. And I texted Becky and she's like, oh, like, well, have them just like shake it up and see what happens. They're like, oh, it's gone magically. So yes, if it was to be cold and then go to room temperature, all those things, enzymes.
Yeah, Fred's looking for the word. He's trying to think of the word.
No, he's got it. So our distiller is Becky Harris, one of the few women, she's a chemical engineer by trade, but she's the woman owner and operator. Thank you for showing us that, Clifton.
Beautiful woman.
Yeah,
amazing grace.
Superhero, fucking badass. All right, and there's a lot of
Wonder Woman. She truly is Wonder Woman.
She's awesome. But chemical engineer by trade. We are not malting, which when you malt, you produce enzyme. Right? So, and that's why people like to malt. However, you are changing the flavor profile. If a malted rye or a malted barley, like a single malt or a blended Scotch, tastes incredibly different from an unmalted barley, like an Irish, right? Enzymes are added after our cook down of the mash, right? We're waiting until that gets cooled down. We're converting those carbohydrates and starches into thick, rich sugars, and then we add these enzymes, which are going to now produce what is needed for the yeast to eat. And then it gets transferred to the fermentation. Gotcha. And then once we have basically what is kind of like a strong version of a Hefeweizen. It's citrusy, and it's got like nutmeg and brown spices to it. It's yeasty and sour, and it's quite delicious, though very unattractive in the sense that we don't lacquer off any of the grain, so it's not beautiful, but it drinks great. We'll take that beer and then we'll distill it, and we're using a Eurocota. It's a column still hybrid. Basically, it's a copper pot still with a column still attached to it. The best whiskeys in the world come from copper. We know this. This is not a copper lace. This is 100% actual copper. That interaction is integral to making the mouthfeel and the flavor profile of our whiskey before it ever sees a barrel. And even then, We're using very conservative portions of what's called the hearts, which is just the delicious ethanol that you can drink. And then we're
John,
aging
what are
them
the first parts?
They're body parts. They're heads, hearts, and tails. Heads are volatile alcohols. We actually will cut it with water, and we will use that to clean the entire building. It's a natural organic cleaning solution that comes off this machining. And then the ethanol, the heads, hearts, is what we're going to actually use to create this entire line of products. The tails are ethanols that you can consume, but fusel oils get involved. They become really oily and bitter. And
What does Scott refer to them as?
The tails? I've never heard
Like
him
an
call
old
them
dirty
anything.
sack?
Oh, yeah, I think I have heard him say that.
Like, you can drink them, they just don't taste all that great. They're just kind of like an old dirty sack. Yeah.
We take it and once we collect enough of it, we redistill it and it becomes this really light, creamy, spicy rye that we will then add botanicals to and hard botanicals. We don't have like a gin basket or anything. It's just hard botanicals, basically like making a big tea after steeping it for 24 hours.
The truth, John. How do we make it? It goes in
pillowcases.
Like sterilized pillowcases into a vat. Like, no, be honest about it. It's not crazy to really like we have all these things. Like it's
right.
Remember, like we had to sit there and beat the potato during COVID. We left our sales positions and we became production people, and then we were making hand sanitizer.
I was gonna say that I saw that you guys did that. You guys, first of all, y'all raised a ton of money for.
We really did.
Y'all raised $12,000 for local charities, but not only that, you guys switched over all of the production to making hand sanitizer. Tell us about that. Like, how was that process?
So when you asked how did Avalon and I meet, I met her at a Christmas party. I met her at one DC tasting event, and then we lived together for months as husband and wife.
No. Wait, hold on. Before that, there was a time to where I introduced you to an account in Virginia, which I don't cover. John does.
That's right. Okay, yeah, we went to Inca together. All right, so we see each other.
And we're like, I wish that we could hang out all the time.
Y'all did such great chemistry together. I mean, I just y'all have been partners in crime or at Catoctin for 5 years.
We were having a drink in DC, and we were like, man, I wish we could like hang out together more often. This is actually such great stuff. We would had such great chemistry anytime we were in front of anybody. And then we just did production and hand sanitizer for months, and it got really exciting after that.
Sanitizer was probably the most exciting because after coming in, I've only been with the company for 2 years. So I got to meet John from jumping around to like events, but everybody else at the tasting room and in the distillery, it was 10 plus people. Yeah. I would literally walk in, get a sample, come out, and be like, hey, you don't know your name unless you're on an email, and I'm pretty sure I might not get it if I saw you again. There was what was it, Steve, who I think drove me to like a team building event to where like I saw him like, who's that guy? He's like, that's Steve. I'm like, I've never met him. He's like, Avalon, I drove you. I was like, it's been a year. I don't know. Yeah. You know how many people I see throughout the year?
Someone like 2 or 3 times before. I'm like, oh, I recognize you.
Yeah, So John and I ended up. So we did the sanitizer for. I think we shut down for about a year. It felt like a year. For a month, and then went back into production. Which, as thankful as we are to, and still thankful that we did not get let go. We were able to do bottling and get paid. But just anybody who's out there who's in the restaurant industry, just imagine like rolling silverware for 8 hours a day. 5 or 9 to 5 for 3 months.
And you were doing it for a cause that was so needed, and it was so desperately needed, and yet you were just rolling silverware. You just did it forever. And
you remember December? What happened at the end of December? Doing all the sanitizer and all that?
Oh, you're talking about at the end of the year? FDA, so the FDA, because hand sanitizer is considered a drug, right? They wrapped us into something where they tried to give us a tax.
I remember reading about that.
They're not a tax. We had a fee.
$14,000. $14,000
plus. Yeah, and we owed it
to all the distilleries.
We owed it like within the next 2 days.
Yeah.
It was like 800 distilleries that were involved in this. We were very, very irate and upset. It was like getting punched in the
Understandably.
So for those of you guys who don't know, because of our work with the hand sanitizer, during like when everything was not sanitizer was not around, Becky was one of the or Catoctin, along with Becky, was one of the first distilleries to start making hand sanitizer. And Scott and Becky were just like, you can find us, like we'll just use like the heads and like we're just gonna like give it away for free. And then they got approached by the FDA to start making it. And Becky had been on phone calls with a bunch of like distilleries all over the nation, kind of walking them through on how to like sign up, because her and her big old brain was able to like, all right, I know how to do this. Let me walk people through, because if anybody else in the world is like me, everything that is like federal reads like stereo instructions. And I'm like, I don't know. I need a lawyer because I don't know how to read this. So she was walking them through all of that. And because of all the work that we'd done, the donations that we had done throughout the year, she ended up becoming the president of the American Craft Spirits Association.
Crazy.
Yeah. So her, along with other people on the board at the end of the year, when the FDA was like, oh yeah, you want $14,000. We need $14,000 from all of you. Not just like the big guys,
right?
The little guys who are doing it, who could easily go into bankruptcy because they can't afford $14,000 just to pull it out of their ass. What are we seeing, Jen?
I'm trying to show it, but you can't see it. But that's a Senator Virginia.
Yeah, there we go.
It's going in and out, but we can see it.
We've been getting recognized for this, man.
Yeah. But basically, that got shut down real quick, right? Like as soon as they tried to do that.
48 hours, babe. 48
was
hours.
On the phone all of the day before New Year's Eve, crushing it. He saved the lives of 800 distilleries, man.
Yeah, that's incredible. So I guess talk about this whiskey real quick. So your 40% ABV. This is still a single barrel, though. I'm actually surprised. I don't think I typically see
across the board.
Yeah, so that's really interesting.
So the way our process works, we don't blend anything in our distillery. Okay. We age product. We start looking, and these are 30-gallon barrels, just to be very clear. Okay, so they're about half the size of a traditional barrel. Sure. We are losing anywhere from 12 to 15% ABV, when the normal barrel is losing about 2 to 4% to the Angel's share. Right. So 2 to 3 years is good. It's time to like look at it, because we're losing a lot there. And since we're not blending it, we need to start tasting. And we're tasting them all at cask strength. And what Becky basically identifies, and with the rest of the team, I mean, we've all, Avalon and I have both participated in this. But we'll go and we'll taste drums and we'll say, okay, this is tasting sweet enough and easy enough. Let's cut that down to 80 to make it Roundstone. This has got more personality. It's more buttery and round. It's darker fruits. It's spicier. Let's make this the Distiller edition. And if there's about 1 out of 100 barrels end up becoming our cask proof, we're just like, wow, everything about this start, middle to finish is just rocking, and we'll bottle it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I will say the mouthfeel is so, like, for something that's, I mean, I consider myself a bit of a proof whore is what I call myself, but I love higher proof spirits. However, the mouthfeel on this drinks like a cask strength whiskey. So that's what most impressive about it to me.
That oiliness and like the viscosity of it.
Agreed completely. We've had people say that it reminds them of scotches. So on the heavy aged rums, we've had people say that it reminds them of tequila sometimes. Not like a clear, but like an añejo style. Like
all the time.
Am I lying? It's just it's that butteriness. It's that green quality, because again, we're emulating a Virginia history here. Sure. And so we aren't, but not with the Roundstone line. We have products that are designed to be older. We make a product called Rabble Rouser, which is a bottled in bond. Starts at 4 years. We've had it at 5+. Okay. Proof, straight rye whiskey. And that's coming out in February, by the way, guys. If anybody want to look for it. Virginia, you can go to CatoctinCreekStore.com and get that shit.
What is it, John?
CatoctinCreekStore.com.
www.CatoctinCreekStore.com.
Yeah, well,
there we go.
Talking about what's available.
Giving me trouble, because when we first were talking about it, it was like I kept just being like, go to CatoctinCreek.com.
Well, I guess before we get into that, I guess let's move on to the next whiskey. So you guys, this next one is 46% ABV, so
This is
92
called
proof.
our Distiller's Edition. Abby, you want to take lead on that?
Oh, I will.
She's
So
really good.
I'm gonna finish the 80 proof real quick.
Oh yeah. Well, so while we pour that, I'm curious the name Catoctin Creek, because I know it's difficult to say. Like you said, the website, it's difficult to say. Where does that come from? What's the origins of that?
So I'm gonna give you a little background on just Catoctin in general because
Okay.
I found that people enjoy my rendition of it.
Go for it.
So Becky
Take it
obviously
away.
is our Becky is obviously our distiller.
Mhm.
Scott and Becky are husband and wife. They're the owners. It's a family-owned company. Becky, chemical engineer. Scott was a tech guy who loved whiskey, just hated his job a lot.
Hmm.
Like he was like, I don't want to live under fluorescent lights, making PowerPoints for the rest of my life. I need to get out of here. Let's go somewhere. So they took a trip to Ireland, just kind of get away from it all, take a little vacation. And after touring a bunch of distilleries and drinking a lot of whiskey, Scott was like, wait a minute. My wife's a scientist. She can make amazing whiskey. I love whiskey. I hate my job. Let's open up a distillery. And so he came back and put his life savings into it and opened up a distillery.
Yep.
And Becky was like, oh, hold on. Make sure we make money.
We all are
And
relatively
I can
new.
make amazing whiskey.
Did you guys
Hmm?
open? Was it 2011 that you guys opened, or you guys are
2009, my man.
2009,
2009. We celebrated our decade. What are we entering 12? I can't even do math right now. These
12.
drinks are fantastic.
I'm
Yeah.
awful at math. The last one that we did, I was like, we're in 11, 12, 21 and a half.
You forget about 2020.
I think
We're
we
at
said-
21 now.
I think
Kind
we
of
said
annoying
11 on the last
times.
one. Almost positive. We're like, it's been 11 years. It's been
It's only January. You got time.
drink more whiskey. Math doesn't count. It's fine. So,
little
So
Virginia
he-
oak here, right?
huh?
We got a little Virginia oak in here, right?
So yeah, sorry, I keep getting backwards because
Oh, you're
the
fine.
camera's backwards. I'm like,
Here's our whiskey. What do you think?
so the Distiller's Edition is still very complicated. All right, so it is our 92 proof, still 100% rye. It's 100% rye mash build across the board. Same
Mhm.
mash build, same aging. There we go. Aging of 2 years in 30-gallon barrels. The barrel changes. We don't blend, so normally the 80 proof, which we had first, and the cask proof is going to be an exchange of the Virginia or Minnesota oak with number 3 char. This guy right here, 100% across the board Virginia oak. This is what we
Gotcha.
hold near and dear to our heart. This is what we drink as our shift drink at the
Yeah.
distillery. This is our baby. Like if you ever walk in, they're like, oh, you guys are just coming in and say hi to like your friends and family over at Catoctin.
Right.
Shot, snifter,
Mhm.
shot would be this.
Gotcha. I haven't
And
actually
there's
this
a
is my first
reason
time trying this one,
because
so I'm very
Got
excited. Right.
94 points in the wine enthusiast
Awesome.
in 2020 before we realized what 2020 was going to be. We were like, this is going to be a great year.
You started
It's
on
gonna be
a high note.
amazing.
We'll say that.
Huh?
We were on our
You
way.
started
dude.
on a high note with the 94.
Oh, we
Getting
did. It was like, we got, what was it? The 80 got a 90, the 92 got a 94, and the cask got a 91. We're like, this is going to be the year. And then I actually ended up doing right before we got shut down. If anybody in Baltimore is listening, we participated for the first time in Rise Up and killed it in Baltimore.
Mhm.
We, out of the 5 people competing, 4 of them won with Catoctin Creek, meaning the winner of Rise Up,
Ooh.
runner up,
Great.
People's Choice, and I can't remember what the other one was. And I was like, oh, we got
What
this.
was
And
it?
then
What
it's
Your other tagline, not just are you the Virginia Rye Whiskey, aren't you guys the number one? What is the specific thing with the awards?
We're the most
your
awarded
award?
distillery out of the state, and we have the
Yep.
most awarded whiskey out of the state of Virginia, and we're the northernmost distillery out of the state of Virginia. There's a lot of things we're kicking ass at right now.
Yeah. Well, Jason from the Mash and Drum, he's another awesome channel here on YouTube. He says, love the passion from you guys. Thanks for having them on, Clifton. Cheers, Avalon and Johnny C. So cheers to you, Jason. Thanks for so much.
Really appreciate the love, man. Thank you so much, man.
So okay,
Wow,
so
this was
more about this one.
Mhm.
Go
It's
ahead.
different.
Mhm.
It's
So there's
different.
a little bit. It's a nice little happy medium between the three.
Okay.
So you have the 80 proof, which is the porch sipper.
Mhm.
This one is, again, it's everybody who at the distillery loves it. You get a little bit more spice. It's still very well rounded. You have the nice smoothness with it,
Right.
and it's still, you get that nice spiciness that you expect from a rye.
I would say this
But
one's
it's not-
definitely spicy. I think it's spicier and there's a lot more oak, like obvious to me on the palate.
Yes, that wood spice is always kind of what I always
Mhm.
kind of translate that for. Is like it's still the rye spice that we're looking for the distiller's tradition, but wood is bringing this other woody spiciness. There's this sweet vanilla wood smoke to it. So some
Absolutely.
people say it's got a slight smokiness to it, but it's not like we're talking like Isla. It's not like that. It's a sweet smoke. And yeah, man, I get like dark fruits on this, like some cherry there. I get some like dried apricots, some nice floral aromatics to this, and it's just warm and rich. And you know you're having a damn drink. And it's all but in gin, it's all but $7 difference.
Oh
Whereas
wow!
in your
And
market,
you said it's the
Yeah.
same age basically, but you're using 100% Virginia oak with this one.
absolutely.
That's awesome. That's such a. It's funny you mentioned Isla. Just quick segue for those of you watching. Saturday, I'm exploring Isla whiskey. So for Avalon and Johnny, I'm not a Scotch guy, but I'm like dabbling in it. Is what I like to say.
Oh, I love it.
So
I
I'm
love
having
Isla.
Are you going to
I'm having a
Isla?
friend. Yeah. So I like some Isla, but I have a friend that's actually joining me on Saturday for a stream. He's poured me 8 different Isla whiskeys, and we're gonna find my favorite Isla distillery. So if people in the chat, if you guys are curious about tuning in, that'll be on Saturday. I'm very excited. I'm
Can you
nervous,
do, like,
but I'm excited.
Can you give me some bonus like sneak previews of what you're tasting? You don't have to go through the whole line. I
Sure.
understand you want to surprise the masses.
So we're tasting it through 8 different distilleries. So one we're doing is Bruichladdich, and we're doing Octomore 10.2,
Oh man, so good.
and then we're doing Kilcolman single cask 11-year Oloroso. So he knows I love the castrant stuff. So he poured me a bunch of castrant scotches, which is my favorite thing.
I love it.
So yeah, I'm very excited to try this. I haven't tried any of them yet, but
Question with the Isla, do you have any of the like staples like Lefroy, Lagavulin in there?
so our
Those
thing,
iodine forward, just like.
so we do have things from their distiller. We don't have the basic release. So I wanted it to be like a step up from like the standard release because I've tried a lot of them. Like Ardbeg. Ardbeg's one of my favorite. You can't see it, but it's on my shelf. One of my favorite Isla whiskeys is Ardbeg Ugadal. It's a fantastic whiskey, but I wanted him to pour me things that I hadn't had before. So I haven't had any of these yet. So I'm really curious to get into them.
This is exciting.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I still stick to American whiskey at heart. That's like kind of where I got my start at. But I like exploring different things too.
Well, so Scott, the male owner who makes sure we make money because he loves his whiskey. He loves his Scotch, and big fan of Isla. Like every time we go out, he's like, "Oh, that iodine, all about it." And it's like, I think it was Lefroy. It was Lefroy. So I'm 31.
Mm-hmm.
I started in the industry at 21, so it's been 10 years.
Right.
I went to a conference, basically being like a cat, like herder of all the Southern Wine and Spirits, like bartenders going from Tyson's Corner to Richmond for a conference, and everybody were like real drunk. Had to take care of them. Went into a small conference. So I'm in an Airstream. I don't know if anybody noticed, but it was basically the size.
Someone actually asked that earlier. I was like, I don't want to ask that if she's not. But yeah, wait, what is this?
Like, no, it's just like my shitty apartment. No, it's an Airstream.
So are you traveling at the time? Like, what are you doing?
So it's currently stationed at my parents' house because traveling is not a thing right now.
Well, I meant traveling and you're like, just, because people are doing road trips. A lot of people are doing road trips these days.
For my job, it's depending on like where. So I literally bought this I had already had it planned up before COVID had hit.
Right.
Like July of 19.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, I got it in January. And then March hit. And I was like, well, shit. All right. Guess this is time for me to learn how to deal with all this and all. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but Abby, it was for the better, man. Like there was always like every time you came into the distillery, we were like my Airstream. Something's wrong with the furnace. Something's wrong with the water. There was like I mean, it's good that you got kinks out before you were like just out somewhere. You know what I mean?
The furnace and the water were very silly issues that I almost flooded my entire airstream, not realizing like where the water input was.
Oh no.
And thank God I did not use my black water tank because it came out of my toilet. And I was like, I'm gonna fill up the water. And I was like, oh no, it's come out my toilet. My dogs are like on like where my dogs are right now on the couch, just being like, Ma, what you doing?
That's great.
It's the Titanic up in here.
Well, I feel like I saw a lot of people, like I follow a lot of travel like YouTube channels, just personally, just watching them. And there was literally like 2 different ones that I watch regularly that bought RVs during this. And they're planning. One of them bought like a nice, like a new one. But this other channel I watch, I forget the name of their channel. I would name it, but I don't remember exactly. I don't want to say the wrong name. But they bought this retro trailer, and they're like, oh, we're gonna renovate it. That was probably the worst idea ever. They were gonna make like a small series on YouTube, like, oh, here's how we renovated our trailer. They're on like part 17 now. It's been several months.
We've lost so much money.
So they poured a lot of money into it, and they haven't got to travel with it yet either. So yeah, I don't recommend that. But if you're getting like a already like put together one that's good to go, then you know.
This is a 2016 Flying Cloud, 25 foot.
Nice, that's awesome.
Dude,
I pay less for this than I do for my car to tow it. $400 a month. Anybody can do it.
That's awesome.
I put down, was it 56 grand? Got a loan, 400 a month. Easy.
So Donnie, the Linux cat mentioned the name of the channel. Yeah, it's called The Endless Adventure. There's another channel I follow called Ordinary Adventures, and I knew I was going to mix them up. I was like, I'm not going to say it, but thank you, Donnie, for that. Yeah, so wow, this distillery, it's really cool, and I think that's such a crazy thing that the wood impacts it so differently, being about the same age. So I dig this one. I see what you're saying. This is when you sneak out in the break room.
And we're just gonna like put this.
You come to our distillery and you get a tour from us. You're gonna smell that in the room, and you're gonna be like, I can just smell it in the air, and it's coming off of ours. In fact.
Well, as we get into, I guess, our final 10 minutes, this has flown by, you guys. Y'all are awesome. I need to have you guys on all the time. It makes so much fun. So the last one is the Cask. Tell us about this. Oh, you got the bottle. Let me highlight you right there so we can show it off.
So what happens here, and I think I mentioned it just slightly before earlier, but Becky, about 1 out of 100 barrels, is looking for something that has a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end on the palate. A lot of these cask strengths, the nose is fantastic. It's all fire, and then you get an exhale, and that's about it, right? And so she wants there to be flavor from the nose to the palate to the exhale, right? But the rye becomes so deceptive at this proof. We put it in. This is 58 right here, guys. So we put it in the barrel at 120 proof, and by the time this one came around, what is 58? So that's 116 proof, guys.
I was gonna say, does this vary for bottling? Like, is it each one is a different proof?
We try to hit 116 because we really like that feel to it. But we have
having a chemical engineer on our team, like she knows like where to.
Very specific with that, yeah.
Also, it's like, I mean, the way liquor works as a business, right? Like. You have a SKU, and you can't like make multiple SKUs being like, oh, well, this one's 2% different, so now we got to change the price, right? That's not going to happen. And so we're ballparking to always have a medium so that we have consistency. But we have released a 118. We've released a 114 before. It just really depends on where it hits.
If you're a 106, that's happening.
I don't know if that is that right. That's coming out.
Maybe I saw on Becky's Instagram that she was like, "Oh, tasting through." She's like, "It's not a brandy barrel, but 106 it is."
Fantastic.
Wow. And the nose on this one, I haven't tasted it yet, but the nose is so like there's like a butteriness to it. Like you mentioned buttery earlier. That is the most thing that's jumping out of the glass the most.
I always tell people this kind of reminds me, even this one too. Oh my God, even more so, I think.
Oh, this is delicious.
This has Sunday morning breakfast. And I know I hate it when people use that kind of descriptor. Oh, it's like when Rome lights reflect off the sun. Shut up. But when I'm talking about a Sunday morning breakfast, I'm talking about pancakes. I'm talking about butter.
As soon as you said Sunday morning breakfast, pancake is on the nose so much. Wow.
All of this stuff, that maple, that
John, I don't want to cut you off. I was wrong. It was for a custom barrel at 106.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I mean,
It
we
stays pretty consistent at 116.
Gotcha.
118, 116, but we don't see, again, we don't cut it. Like it goes in the barrel at 120, and when
Mhm.
it's ready to go, we dump this into the bottle. That's it. There's
Gotcha.
nothing else that happens to this. So this is as raw, pure form as you're going to
We dump it in the what? The butt?
Yeah, right. The
You put it in the butt?
Well, if we have to,
What's the
sometimes
butt, John?
we put it in the butt. The butt is the size
That's a
of a
very
larger
unique
barrel.
You put it in the butt?
It's talking about a larger barrel, people.
Brandon
Yeah.
asked, he made, I don't think you said, what is the barrel entry proof that you guys use?
Okay, so I mean, obviously we got to follow regulatory. If we want to call it whiskey in America, when you come it off the still, there's a certain cutoff point. And forgive me if I'm botching my numbers, but I do believe that's 125, 130, somewhere in that ballpark. So we bring it down to 120, so it's safe, and we know we're secure. We put them in 30-gallon barrels, and again, by 2 or 3 years, that's a massive amount of depletion for us. And we get a nice, and it's not so much an extraction, but we get beautiful color off of that, and you're getting that great wood experience at a stage 3 char. It's not overbearing, it's not too much. And
Wow. This one.
There was a really cool thing that happened, like regulation wise. And John, I don't remember exactly, but during when we were like actually bottling in the distillery, there was a law change when it came to figuring out the proofs of whiskey. And so initially, like, you know, when we put down it's 58%, you could be within like a small margin of it.
Okay.
And it was literally like 1 or 2, and they allowed at least 3% to kind of like fluctuate between, or like it was like 2.5 or something. And being somebody who works, like Becky being chemical engineer, who's very diligent, very that brain, just being like, we're okay, we got to get there, testing it. It made it a lot easier for us to get that proof.
Sure.
Because I get why that proof is. If anybody has worked in beer, that's where that stuff kind of gets a little bit more wonky.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of breweries that are like, oh yeah, it's 9%, and they actually accidentally release like a 15% barley wine or something?
And they just keep their mouth shut about it. And
Yeah.
9.
Like, it's fine. It is what it is. So, like, there's regulations for a reason, because nobody wants to drink something and get too drunk because they assume it's something.
Yeah. Well, so this one, it kind of reminds me a lot of the first one, the 80 proof release you guys have. It reminds me a lot of those same notes, but I feel like it's like pumping them up and it's like giving them a lot more flavor. So I'm curious, like, what is you guys like favorite out of these 3? I think I got to go with this one. This was, I mean, I love the high proof. I told you before, but
I find myself drinking the cask more often nowadays, and I don't know if it's just the circumstances, and it's like it calls for it.
I'm at home. I can drink what I want.
but I'm telling you right now. I mean, when we're at the distillery, our people we don't even ask. Like when the glass comes, it's 92 proof. And it hits all the right ticks, right? I mean, the 80 proof for a lot of people, that's basically like, the Kool-Aid of the whiskey world, right? And so it's our introductory whiskey, but the 92 proof, it's right there. It's not too hot. It's not too sweet. It's not too dry. It's not too spicy. It's got a lot of personality. But this, honestly, is one of these drinks where I could smell this for like 10 minutes straight.
Oh my God, the nose is so incredible. And I mean, even though you said like you said, people consider like 80 proof. Like, I mean, I'm guilty. When I see something that's 80 proof, I'm like, this is not going to be that good.
A lot of people
don't make up for it with the mouthfeel. The mouthfeel on the standard release is incredible.
That's why like Becky refers to organic natural ingredients, man.
Absolutely.
Becky refers to it as like the porch sipper. Like, you want some alcoholic iced tea that is super spicy? Like, use some 80 proof. Just sip on it. Just hang out.
Yeah. So I did want to ask,
you want to tell the story? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no. So one of our viewers actually was in the liquor store today, and he came across a bottle. I'm going to share my screen here. Hopefully this works. It is the Wolfgang Puck. So tell us about this.
Territory.
Interesting. What is the story behind this?
So I kind of know. So it just kind of like came out of the blue. This was not something that I was necessarily a part of. I cover DC, And this was Wolfgang Puck's restaurant out of in Georgetown.
I'm trying to figure
Cut,
out around
I think was what it's called, that had opened and then was only open for a couple of months before COVID set in. I actually got to meet Wolfgang.
Oh, wow.
Super sweet dude. Got to meet him so I was there with Scott and Becky, and which son did I meet? I can't remember. Anyway, so we were there, got to taste it, and it is, I want to say it's a Zinfandel barrel finish.
Yeah, he sent me the back. Let me see if I can pull up that. Yeah, it doesn't say on the front.
So Clifton, basically, Wolfgang Puck requested a style. Now, I mean, again, this was Scott and Becky's baby. This is not something that we were privy to, but it's a wine finish barrel.
Okay.
And outside of that, the man paid for his own labels. He bought pallets of this stuff.
How much does it cost to get a label in Virginia, John?
Oh my God, I don't know. I mean, it's
like a brand per label, per private label.
I have people come up to me and they're like, well, how do we get a label like Wolfgang Puck? I'm like, well, you got to buy your own spool of labels, and you have to create your own labels, and you have to buy pallets of it and ship it throughout, like, I think, what was it, some 20 states, wherever he has a restaurant. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that was made specifically for.
So, not to cut you off, I actually have a picture. So it is a Roundstone finish. So that finish. So it started out with just like the regular Minnesota oak, and then reused California French oak Zinfandel barrel.
That's what it was.
That's all Wolfgang Puck. Yep.
Okay.
And so, and just Clifton, just a little like kind of peek through here. The reason why we do Minnesota white oak barrels is because Minnesota white oaks are recognized for having the highest levels of vanillins in them. Okay. And those sweet wood sugars translate to a lot of caramel and vanilla. And since we're doing younger whiskeys, because we're a pre-prohibition style, right? We're giving you a Virginia rye.
Right.
We wanted to really gas those flavors up. But also, the company...
John, can I stop you real quick? Those words that you just used, layman's terms, lots of density means lots of sugars.
I was like, I don't know these, but I'm going to pretend like I do.
I'm not trying to nerd out too much, but listen. So the other
chat. I mean, you guys
it's very dense wood. So once it actually becomes in a barrel, it ends up all of those just great sugars and everything, just like really goodness into the whiskey.
So, and also this company, when we first discovered them, they were the only company that we were able to locate that had 30-gallon barrels. And we initially started there, one, because price point and availability of what we were going to make. We needed something that was going to come out quicker because we were never bottling somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's what I was going to say earlier. Like, you guys started out just doing your own stuff. That's so unique and
There's
so cool.
never been MGP. Why? No offense to MGP. Like, I had referenced, the guy beforehand. He does amazing work. But when you have a chemical engineer on your side,
all the way out.
And Scott always, there's this little joke that he always says. He says, like, when he was working on the hill, there was a couple things that happened there. One, it taught him his passion for drinking. But two, it was also a very lucrative job, and he was never going to quit this very lucrative job working on the hill to bottle someone else's whiskey. And so they wanted it to be ground up. So we needed smaller barrels so that we could get product that was going to be delicious, out sooner. But also because Becky is super hands-on, and she didn't want someone else dragging around the barrels. So 30 gallons is something that she could physically carry.
Sure.
Becky's also about my height. So we're both about so I'm 5'10", she's 5'11". Oh, so nice. She's not just like this tiny little woman. She's like, I want to be able to throw these barrels around, and you will see her in the distillery just she'll pick them.
Stronger than I'll ever be, dude. Literally just dragging drums around, and it's just nuts. Clifton, you want to answer this question?
Yeah, I just poured the I revisited the 92 proof on them, so I'm gonna try it real quick just to make a final judgment on this for myself.
I do. I mean, if I was going to say it this way, I love the nose on the cask the most. But if I'm having something on a regular basis, it has to be that Distiller's Edition.
And you know what? I think I got to agree with you. As much as I think I was influenced by the nose on the cask, because I was like, it looks like a incredible one. But this has that oak. I mean, Donnie and I are Donnie, who's the Linux cat. Our palates align a lot, so he always asks me like, "But which one do you like?" I will say, palate wise, I gotta agree with you. The way that oak is affecting that spiciness on the Distiller Select, that's probably my favorite for sure.
Cheers
Well,
to
there's
that,
a
man.
reason why you got a 94 on it. Just saying.
What was that? Sorry.
I said there's a reason why we got a 94 in the
Oh.
wine enthusiast, like across the board. They were like, yeah, this is the shit. It's like, we love all of these other guys. We didn't get anything under than a 90. So what was it? The 80 was a 90, 94 at the distilleries, and then 91 for the cask proof.
That's
so
awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, well, someone was asking. I know we're a bit over time, so I'm just. But people were asking. They're asking at the beginning, where can we find your whiskeys? Where do you guys distribute to?
So we have, I'm gonna let you get in on this one too, Abby, because you have something to share on that. But we are currently, I now have officially confirmed, we are in 27 states in the United States. We have EU distribution, Mexico distribution, Singapore, and a handful of other states or countries. If you go to our website, there's a button that says where to buy,
Gotcha.
and you can see that. Now we just got a national beverage manager who's working
Dean?
over. Yep, Mr. Dean. Shout out to Dean, man. Congratulations, welcome to the team. He's our guy. He's who we're answering to from now on, and he's gonna help us expand in these markets that we are not currently in. So for those who are waiting, give us a second. It's gonna happen fast. So South Carolina, I saw earlier. Give us a second. We're not there yet. North Carolina, we were there. It got really ugly. We'll be back. there's a handful of states.
Pennsylvania, we're going to be back as well.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is another one. Thank you for that. And then as far as anybody who lives in the Virginia area, we can ship through our website at catoctincreekstore.com, www.
A couple people were asking about Canada.
I saw that earlier. Canada. No, we are not currently in Canada. Canada is on the short list of immediate places we are seeking out. We just got into Scotland. I believe we are in Ireland now, but I don't want to be the one to confirm that.
That's awesome. So someone mentioned. So Eric Waite says Total Wine and More carries Catoctin. Actually, I didn't know you guys were in California, but I did a quick Google search. I was like, because I've looked at all my local stores and I could not find you. But then I saw that you guys are at Total Wine. I'm like, I wish I had known that. I would have gone to like get like a full size bottle.
Definitely in California.
If your state has a Total Wine that sells liquor, which ours doesn't,
We're in it. And a Costco.
And a Costco.
Costco or Total Wine that sells liquor, we
are in there, and you will have all three of these expressions plus our gin, and when available, occasionally
the
brandies. Rabble Rouser does occasionally show up, and I know that there is a special label called Braddock Oak exclusively at Total Wine, and that's a red wine finished distilled edition, right? Oh, there's two of them. That's right. There's a regular.
There's the house label of Braddock Oak at the Total Wine, and then there's the wine finish, which I actually just bought for Steve, who's one of the tasting room guys, because they sell it at one of. You can buy it depending if your distributor sells it. So if you're an account and your distributor sells any of the Braddock Oak, you can buy it, put it in your store, because I find it in Maryland and DC all the time when it's only meant for just Total Wine.
Wow.
Yes, we're in Tennessee.
So I guess
if anybody wants to buy anywhere else throughout the country, Pearson's DC in DC, PEARSON.com or DC.com. Just Google Pearson.
No, I'm not shaking. This guy right here, I'm shaking my head to.
Pearson's in DC.
Finishers.
No, yeah, finish. I just put it up so we can talk about it. Like, because go ahead, finish.
Pearson's in DC can actually send off whatever spirits that we carry to at least 16 different states. And if your state is able to like get alcohol sent into it from another place. But they have our core lineup. They have a bunch of our specialty stuff. I know they're going to be getting our Rabble Rouser, which in 2019 was the best whiskey in all of Virginia. Out of the 60 distilleries that we have, we had the best whiskey in all of Virginia.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
And like filibuster and
I'm saying we've that rabble has now been in magazines. Forbes mentioned it. Like we are getting a lot of
Rabble might as well have been like the Playboy of like whiskey. Like, oh, you want to get the full spread of this whiskey? Get it? Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's a special edition. You have to be a member to actually like look at it.
So Stanley's asking. So what are you guys doing to market your product? Well, first of all, y'all are here again. Thank y'all for being here. But like, what else are you guys doing? You guys doing anything fun with marketing?
There's a couple of like collaborations that we're doing, but the thing that everybody, when Scott and Becky came into this, they put their money into the product. They didn't put it into marketing, right? Mm-hmm. And so over the course of 10 years, we have been silently collecting award after award after award. And so when the time is right and the pockets are right, when the marketing comes out, we are the Virginia rye whiskey and we are the most awarded whiskey out of the state. So we already have so much power over that. Sure. Outside of that, when people are asking about like, so we're not going all balls to the walls like these other things. We're not doing that. That's not something we were ever doing. But what we do is we partner. So you were looking at that Wolfgang Puck thing. Avalon's getting ready to show you about Port City. I was going to talk about Gwar, if anybody's familiar with that band.
Gwar First. Yep.
Gwar First.
Gwar.
So we're getting – so there's this intergalactic heavy metal band that's out of Richmond, or outer space rather, named Gwar. And it's a staple in our area. East Coast knows exactly who Gwar is. They were shown in like, what was that movie? What was that? Empire Records.
Empire Records.
Yeah, I was going to say Tower Records. I used to shop
at real high, ate some brownies, and was like, "Oh my God, Gwar's on the TV talking to me." Yeah. Yeah,
they made a whiskey with us, and they're going to release it here real soon. We are working on finalizing labels. Yeah, so there's a couple of cool things there with that. That's going to be a one of a kind collector's bottle. And we're going full on with them. So there's going to be a lot of fun stuff coming out of that bottle. Oh, did we just lose Clifton?
We run the show, John. Let's get weird.
Welcome to the Dark Shope and Avalon show. We finally got our podcast. This is what we've been wanting to do for so long. Hey,
and I'm back. I'm sorry. I clicked the button. I got so excited. I clicked the button. I'm here. Sorry.
You just raved while you were gone.
I tried to pick my phone up. So they teased that on Instagram, right? On the Catoctin Creek Instagram. Is that what that label was that was posted recently?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's an awesome label. If y'all aren't following them on Instagram, definitely go check that out.
Yes, they're in Michigan, Crooked Tail. Or we are in Michigan. I just saw that. Sorry. I bounced over when I realized
that's
that.
Awesome. And you said you had one more to talk about, Avalon? That's coming soon or no? Or no?
It's already out.
The Port City. So this one is the Colossal. So it's our beer whiskey. So essentially what we do is we take the actual uncarbonated beer. So how you make whiskey is you make beer. Not the same type of beer, but you make beer. And then, so we take theirs, distill it down, turn it into a spirit, and then age it. The first one that we did was actually with Adroit Theory, which is right around the corner from us. And fuck yeah. Right around the corner from us. And it was the Dias de los Muertos.
Okay.
Speak much Spanish. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. No disrespect.
Yeah.
And it's their flagship porter. My dad is in love with that beer. He lovingly refers it to as the dead girl because of the sugar skull face that they have for like the actual label.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first time they approached Becky with it, they're like, "Well, it's not infected. It's not where we want it to be." They're like, "What do? We don't want to like throw out the batch." We're like, "Let's contact Becky. She's a genius. She'll figure it out." And so Becky's like, "Yeah, let's distill it. Basically, beer. Figure it out. Let it age. And let it age for at least 4 years." The first time, it flew out the fucking door over the weekend.
Really?
Without what was it like? Was it a day and a half? A day? 2 days?
Wow, that's awesome.
And people were just like lining up. So the second time we did it, we did it intentionally for 2 years, and we've continuously done that. So this is the second series, the third series to the initial series.
American malt, yeah.
First one was Beltway Brewing. We did Octomalt IPA, which essentially, if you were to take like Bell's Too Hard and like cook it down and then add booze on top, every bearded beer whiskey dude that I tasted this on, they giggled with their body and acted like a little valley. They're like, "Oh my god, this is everything I've ever wanted." I was like, do you want to? Okay, okay. They're like, I'm fine. I just want more. Like, okay, we'll get you more. So that was the Octomalt. We did a Farmhouse Ale, and then this is the Colossal, which is essentially a Belgian style beer that they, do throughout several years. They change it up every year.
Sure.
So this is the third one.
That's awesome. Well, final question that I always like. Well, I don't always like because it's the first time I've asked it, but I'm going to ask it this time. It's taking a note from my friend Perry, who has a podcast called This Is My Bourbon Podcast. What he likes to ask his guests are, what do you like drinking when you're not drinking Catoctin Creek? What is your go-to? Are you like a wine drinker or do you like other whiskeys? What is your go-to? Just curious.
John, you go first.
You want me to go first? There is a time and place for everything, and this comes from being a bartender and a beverage director at some point, right? So I absolutely love spirits, I love beer, and I love wine. And I really kind of gravitate to more robust things in that category, of those categories. So like I like an añejo tequila, I like a mezcal, I like an aged rum, a dark rum, but I also love a really amazing gin. I love an amazing gin. Big imperial beers. The bigger the beer, or the more like I like sours, the more like tart and funky they are. Wine, I want it to be a bold red or a hyper aromatic white. So things like Viogniers or Tarentaise for whites, but also like I'll do like Tanats, I'll do Zens and all of those Bordeaux and Chateauneuf de Pape blends, all of those.
I'll
things.
pretend like I know what all those are and just.
John, you were lying like a dog. I know what you drink when you're not drinking Catoctin.
What is it? Toilets? What is it?
It is your weird blend of vodka and other things.
What the hell are you talking
whatever
about?
you have in your.
This is what happens in overtime. This is what happens in overtime, you guys.
I have zero vodka in my house.
Well, not vodka.
I got some vodka. I got some Tito's as my go-to vodka.
She's right. I mean, also, I'm not a snob, guys. I also have a lot of like humble pie backgrounds. And so I will get right down on a 40-ounce malt liquor bottle because it's a part of my history.
There we go.
You're naming off all these
That's
fancy
what we were
wines, and now you're
looking
talking about
for.
malt liquor.
That's what she's fishing for. And I mean, and honestly, if it's cheap, I'll have it. I mean, I'm not like gonna walk into some place and be like, "Pick these up." What the hell is this shit? Like, I'm definitely getting down. It's again, there's a time and place for all of it. My father was a vodka merchant.
He was asking when you're not drinking Catoctin, like when you're at home, what you drinking? I'm drinking Trulies and white rum on top of it to make an adult beverage. That's what I'm drinking.
He's talking about
I'm not the only one that does that. First of all,
she's giving me a hard time. I have a Watershed gin cocktail that I make with key lime LaCroix. I forgot about that with lavender bitters. I picked up on it now.
Ooh, fancy!
And it's actually a very delicious. It's like a Ricky, but it's like
you could be real drunk and just like we just put it.
No, I'm glad to hear that someone else is doing that.
Champagne and beers, man. I get on High Life, dude. Colt 45, no, man. Steel Reserve all day. What are you guys talking about?
Well, my problem with a lot of the seltzers is like I feel like not only are they lacking the alcohol, because let's be honest, I like high proof spirits, but also I feel like they lack flavor. So I love making cocktails. Like I'll put like a White Claw, and then I'll put some rum, and I'll put some lime juice, and it's fantastic.
Oh yeah. Yeah, all day.
I got some Victory Sour Monkeys in the fridge right now. Some Crooked Run beers that are like double fermented.
Oh, she's gonna go check her fridge, see what she's got.
She literally is gonna put the sour mies.
Oh, sour beers. See, I've never really gotten into sour beers. I know Johnny and Diana who were in the chat earlier. They love sours.
I love my sour beers. Farmhouse. It could be as like yeasty and funky.
I love me some sours, but the unicorn farts, very subtle.
I love that name, first of all.
Oh, how have you? I am the unicorn mystery.
Yeah, I put your Instagram info down there, which y'all already have it in your name, so I didn't need that. But
So I got introduced to the rep Evan, who reps DC and parts of Maryland. I can't remember the other area. So we got introduced because I run around in a unicorn like onesie all the time. So does he because of this brand. And we got linked up because of our mutual friend who used to work when I used to work at the beer distributor. And they're like, why do you guys know each other? And I was like, I don't know. Introduce us.
Mhm.
And so now I have a lifetime supply of unicorn farts.
That's awesome.
And it is a delicious sour. It's not too sour. I know I've had sours where you're like, oh yeah, my esophagus falls out my ass and it's awful.
Yeah. See, I've only had bad experiences with sour, so I shouldn't write it off. I should try more of them, basically.
Just think of like, do you like margaritas?
I do like a margarita, so. Oh, he's loading up. Say, what are you playing there? Oh, Sonic.
I'm
Wow.
Are we gonna play on the screen? Are we still live?
Yeah, we're wrapping up here, so I think he's preparing for after the stream. He's gonna be playing some Sonic. Well, I guess again, I want to thank y'all so much for being here. I know we went a bit over time, but I'm so glad. It's so much fun hanging with you guys. So, where can people find you on the internet? I mean, I put your tag. You got your tags there. What are you guys doing? Are you guys doing like Instagram lives? Are you doing Twitch streams? I mean, I feel like Avalon, you look like a Twitch streamer. I'm sorry, you got the whole like the look going on. So,
I don't even know what a Twitch stream is. What is that?
I knew she was gonna say that.
It's just like a gaming stream. Like you just look like a gamer girl. Like that's that haircut. It fits very well.
Such a Twitcher, dude. She just.
I used to have like the full shot. I don't even know this. Yeah, this side. Okay.
Well, it looks great. So where can people find you on the web after this?
So I'm at Instagram, Unicorn Whiskey Fairy.
Gotcha.
And on my Facebook, I don't have Twitter or any of that. I'm not that technologically inclined. On Facebook, it's just Avalon Oona Haas. Very simple.
Awesome.
You can find me on Instagram at JohnnyCCDC. Twitter is the next rounds on me. You can go to Facebook.
Hold you to that. Go ahead.
I'm online, baby. I am always in comment sections, stirring up nothing but trouble.
Yeah, John barely works. He's just basically on just social media.
It's a
professional troll, basically.
Like, no, I don't do any of that. I try to stay away from that, man. I'm in sales, man. I want to love everybody. I want everybody to love me. And I want you to love Catoctin Creek. And I want you to love Avalon. I want you to love Clifton, Bourbon Bites. That's what we want. That's what I'm about.
Yeah. Well, you guys did an awesome job here tonight. Again, y'all, now that I know that I can buy this at Total Wine, I'm probably going to go buy another bottle this weekend. So very excited to try it. Like I said, you guys go to the website. Was it CatoctinCreekShop.com?
Store. Catoctin Creek Store.
Otherwise, you can see CatoctinCreekDistilling.com if you just want to go and check out our entire information. There's virtual tours there. There's product information, recipes.
What did you say? Erotic information, John?
Yeah,
that was inappropriate.
That's if we misspelled Catoctin, because Catoctin could be no, we're getting to like this is my after party movie. I got to prepare for that because I'm doing my after party on Discord after this. So. But
erotic. Oh, you forgot. Sorry. Before we get off, you had asked where Catoctin comes from. The name is actually a Native American term that means a plethora of deer. So we're at a late enough time, a shit ton of deer. If nobody knows what plethora means. So in the area
around here, guys, lots of white-tailed deer.
Yeah, in the area. Oh, those whitetails. Mm.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm from South Carolina, so I'm very familiar. Yeah.
So in the area, Catoctin is spanned between Virginia and Maryland, and before the white man came and made it two different states, the Native Americans had no idea.
Johnny, did you just be like before the white man came? Did you just like whoa? No.
Did you say?
Okay.
He's a very light-skinned Native American.
Anyways, I'm sorry. We didn't mean to. I saw the hand. I was like, whoa.
Wow. No.
It was accidental. He just was a knee-jerk. He's like, what? No, we don't want that. So
he started to put up, and then he wrote what you were saying. He's like, oh, never mind.
Getting ready to shoot this delicious Cask proof.
We'll do it without talking. So essentially, don't joke on it. So basically, when it all became about with the U.S., the Native Americans were like, well, this is Catoctin. And my friend's like, well, no, this is Virginia, this is Maryland. And I'm like, still Catoctin. That's the name. So that's why a lot of people in Maryland get confused. They're like, oh, Catoctin Creek, is that from Maryland? I'm like, no, it's from Virginia. And vice versa. Like, people come from Maryland to Virginia. Like, oh, is that from Maryland? I'm like, no, it's from Virginia.
Gotcha. Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So Maryland essentially has the majority of the mountains, and we have the majority of the creek. It's just like that one area to where like
that mountain range goes all the way out to Pennsylvania. I mean, people don't realize just how big this damn thing is. But I mean, I think a lot of the association comes from Camp David, where Catoctin Creek mountain range is located. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people make that association. I had to Google all this because in Virginia, people were like, you guys are from Maryland? I'm like, why the hell do people keep thinking you're from Maryland?
I had the same thing. I was like, on the map, I was like, give me a second. Let me just
show them a map. Like,
yeah. Anybody who's got Camp David like fresh in their brains from something.
We're probably gonna have to shut it down soon.
Yeah, no, you're I gotta head to my after party. Which, by the way, if y'all want to hang out later on Discord, just let me know and I'll invite y'all to the after party. But y'all seem interested. we'll chat. I'll send y'all the info once we wrap up here. But again, thank y'all so much for joining the stream. It's been so much fun. Very excited. I would love to have y'all back. If y'all have any new products coming anytime soon, y'all are welcome back anytime. Talk about it. Share it with these guys. Thank y'all in the chat that have hung out this long. I know we're overtime, but y'all are awesome. And again, thank y'all so much. So cheers to y'all. And I'm very excited for more from Catoctin Creek. So have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much for this, man. We appreciate it. Absolutely. This was a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Yes. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, cheers to you, man.